the first piece is really that bit around intent, just getting really clear on why you're going into the conversation. And again, like I said, at multiple levels, like what you want from the conversation as well, because in some situations it might be just to raise awareness around something or start having a dialogue about something that's going to perhaps take a bit longer to fully address. So getting really clear around that. I mean, I guess the second piece is going back to your earlier question around the mistakes that people often make. So taking some time to really reflect on the facts and the evidence and what you can bring to illustrate your point. So, and this sounds very simple in theory, but it's actually very hard in practice. So I love getting people to try this and then they're sort of, oh, actually, I just realized I was using a label. So I was saying, oh, you spoke in a condescending manner, for example. Well, what exactly did they do? How do you judge what's condescending versus what they judge as condescending? So getting really specific around what have you actually observed? What have you heard the person say? Like, just how can you be as objective and neutral as possible in describing some examples or sharing some information about what it is that needs to shift or what's not working. And so that's what I would say is often the second step. And again, that can be tricky too. A scenario I hear of a lot is when a leader has been given feedback from others about an individual and they have to go into that scenario. So that can be really tricky too. I mean, the ideal there is to teach those people to share feedback in a more rigorous, timely kind of way. But also, sometimes that's not the case. So again, thinking about how you're going to present that and not make it hearsay, how you can again bring it back to the specific information that you have, recognizing which parts are your assumptions and which aren't. Like, are you coming in with any stories or assumptions or biases around certain things? I think spending a little bit of time reflecting on what might be happening for the other person. Like, you don't want to make any assumptions there either, but just taking a moment to think, well, what is going on for them? Like, are they under a lot of pressure? Are they new to the role? What might have shifted for them? Even just taking a moment to think of some of the questions you might ask in that space can be really useful because it'll just put you in that curiosity mindset, if you like. And the other thing I would say, coming back to some of those really big micro skills is, I mean, this is a bigger piece really, but having some good questions up your sleeve to ask, some good open-ended questions. So for example, after you've described what it is you've observed and talked about that intent piece and shared all of that, what will you say next? The way I teach people is often to have a good open question next. So can you tell me about this from your perspective, or what's happening for you? And what else? That's my favorite question, which, is so open. And what else? And what else? What else don't I know? Is there anything else that I'm missing? So one little tip as well that I often share with people is using what questions and how questions rather than why questions is such a small nuance, but it can make a big difference because it is more open and it tends to provoke a less defensive sort of response than why questions. Even if your intentions are good, they can come across as interrogating the reasons behind someone's actions. So I think that's probably it. And again, getting clear also if there is a shift required on how you would describe what good looks like in terms of expectations going forward. And you may not need to go there because often people, that's the thing I would say too, often people will realise like, oh, actually, I didn't realise I was doing that. I can see where I've gone wrong now, and they'll shift their approach. But if you do have to be specific and actually say, hey, this is what I need you to do differently, again, getting really specific around what that looks like rather than the wishy-washy, the wishy-washy terms again. I need you to be more of a team player. I need you to be more collaborative. What does that actually mean? For example, at next week's meeting, I would expect that you will ask your colleagues what they think, be specific about what examples you've seen of people that are doing that well or what you want them to do going forward. So hopefully that's enough. But again, you can see it's a lot of preparation, having some questions up your sleeve. If you're not a good listener, finding a way to remind yourself to listen as well and just create some space for the other person, those kind of things.
If this culture clip helped you, hit that like button below and we'll see you in the next clip.